welcome to No Broken Legs. It is an early Wednesday edition of our Week 14 picks. Joining me on the phone is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how are you this afternoon?
I am feeling great, brother. A day early for us, so a little day less to process everything, but I think we'll be okay. So we'll be all right, man. I'm ready to get into this.
Yeah, I feel like we did this just 2 weeks ago. and just a programming note, a very good friend of mine is getting married this weekend. That's why we're recording early, because I'm going to be out of town. So shout out to Alex and Leela. Early congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
So I said it feels like deja vu because we did this 2 weeks ago. The Browns were in Baltimore. Now the Ravens are in Cleveland. And as we come into this game with Cleveland coming off the bye, Baltimore coming off a loss to Pittsburgh, we see that the Cleveland Browns are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under sits at 42. The money line for the Browns is minus 130. The money line for the Ravens is plus 110. Jimmy, we talked about what we wanted to see 2 weeks ago in this game. We wanted to see, and last week when we recapped the game, we wanted to see the Browns be more committed to running the ball and running the pass plays that work. And we wanted to see them attack Lamar Jackson with their secondary pieces. And we saw half of that last week or 2 weeks ago. Will we see all of that this upcoming Sunday?
Yes, I am going to continue to say yes. I've been steadfast in my belief of Kevin Stefanski, of the new regime, the new era. I think he just had a handful of games before the bye get away from him. I believe he's going to have had time to reset, and I believe at some point he was sitting in a film room this week with Alex Van Pelt and said, "Why the fuck don't I give Nick Chubb the ball more?" I truthfully believe that happened. I think you're going to see a steady diet of running the ball. Quick throws, short screens. I think you're going to see a ton of Chubb and Hunt. Hopefully DPJ is able to play, open it up a little bit. Looks like Njoku is probably going to miss the game because he hit the COVID list yesterday afternoon. So
it's going to he'll have to have multiple negative tests to be able to play.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for him there, but we'll see what happens there. But like I said, I think they have the game plan. So, we had two really good drives in that Ravens game the first time. We had the first drive where we ended trying to take the field goal to not make all of us happy that want to see Kevin Stefanski be aggressive all the time. And then the second drive where they had the game plan working perfectly was when he tried to play putting Jarvis at quarterback. That was not the time for that, where you were in rhythm. So hopefully they'll get back to what they do, but I do expect to see a ton of Nick Chubb, a ton of running the ball. Defensively, you've just got to have the exact same game plan, if not even attack more than you did last time, because Pittsburgh just keeps doing it and it'll wear them down. But you've got to run the ball, even if it doesn't work. Like we talked about earlier this week, Najee Harris was not running the ball at a great clip, but just having to tackle a running back over and over again wears down a defense. They need to do that in this game. And like we said, a win here against the Ravens can really change the whole trajectory of the season. I expect a win. This is going to be a huge statement game for Kevin Stefanski and a healthy Baker Mayfield, I hope. And the Browns season gets turned back upright a little bit.
Yeah, and you mentioned hopefully DPJ will be back. There's nothing new there's nothing new for him on the injury report. Anthony Schwartz is listed as questionable. He didn't practice on Monday. He's out with a concussion. We'll monitor his status throughout the week. With Njoku out, Harrison Bryant is also doubtful. That just doesn't. I don't like how that sounds, having Harrison Bryant and Njoku out, which means everything in the tight end spot is going to rely on Hooper. It also takes away, another piece that they like to use in the running game on the line. We've seen Bill Belichick repeatedly, and we saw him do it on Monday, where he just brought out a sixth lineman and said, "Fuck it, we're just going to run the ball." Do you think the Browns might do something like that Sunday?
I think they might have to if Njoku and Bryant both miss. They might not have a choice, and I think it would be a great thing. I think it's what they have to do. I feel like Baltimore is waiting to be buried. I don't know if they have an Undertaker moment in them to sit back up. I think they are waiting to be put out of this season, like we've talked about. Like it or not, they've had a ton of injuries, the key pieces that have hurt them. I think they're ready to be put down, and I think the Browns can do it this week.
All right, so it sounds like you're taking the Cleveland Browns in this game. I am also taking the Cleveland Browns in this game, although most of the action on the money line, 75% right now, is on the Baltimore Ravens. Very early in the week, though, and that we'll see how that changes. Any final notes on this rematch between Cleveland and Baltimore? I feel like we've covered this pretty extensively. If Cleveland wins, they're right back in the division hunt, and they're right there in the mix for the playoffs.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, whichever one of these teams comes out and wins this game, wants it more, gets this W, escapes with a big win in the division, their season's going to be going the right way, and the team that takes the loss is going to be trending downwards very heavily. So it's a huge game. Like, this is truthfully the first must-win game of the season for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, and it's also a big thing, too. You played this team really close 2 weeks ago on the road. They have to play last week while you're resting. They lose a really tough game against Pittsburgh. Anybody in the AFC North, or anybody that's been around the AFC North for a long time, fans, players, everybody knows that like those Pittsburgh-Baltimore games are tough, and both of those teams do tend to struggle the week after they play each other. So that's something to keep in mind as well, which is why that running game is so important and why we talk about it so much.
Yep, absolutely.
Before we move off the Browns, I do want to ask a question that we got from a subscriber. Ecstatic Carson asked a question about the front office and owner maybe asking him over the offseason, maybe asking Stefanski over the offseason to give up play calling. Now, we've heard pressure from fans. We've heard some pressure from the media. It doesn't sound like the front office has his back on this. Andrew Berry gave a press conference over the bye week. Do you think that changes if the offense looks as bad as it has the last 6 weeks? Do you think when the season's over, if we see the offense the next 5 weeks like it has been the last month and a half, do you think that's something Andrew Berry will talk to Stefanski about?
I think if the offense continues to be as bad as it's been and the Browns do not have a winning record and do not make the playoffs, I don't think Berry will have to tell Stefanski. I think Stefanski will know that he's got to give up play calling and he's got to be a little bit more focused at the micro level than the macro level every week. And he needs to get some things figured out that he just can't do while he's trying to call plays. But if he doesn't make the decision himself, I would think Andrew Berry would say, hey, let's start the season with Van Pelt calling plays and see how it goes. I could absolutely see that happening.
Yeah, and it just like with Baker Mayfield is part of his last, his story is going to be told over these last 5 games. Stefanski's story of the season is told over these last 5 games.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the rest of the matchups. Starting tonight, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Minnesota. The Vikings are 3-point home favorites. The over-under sits at 43.5. Pittsburgh coming off a really big, tough win Sunday. We talked about it yesterday. I think Minnesota wins this game because they just lost to Detroit, and it's in character for Pittsburgh to come off a big win and lose to a team that just lost to a winless team.
Oh, yeah, this is perfect Steelers, perfect Vikings if the Vikings win this game. I think the 3 points is probably a push. I'm going to take Minnesota, but I think Minnesota wins this game by a field goal, maybe a touchdown, but it just feels like Pittsburgh's not going to be able to get up for another game like they did in the last 15 or so minutes of that game against Baltimore. So I'll take the Vikings. Little concern, Adam Thielen might not play, but I think Justin Jefferson can carry the load, so I'll take the Vikings.
Yeah, and it's also very in character for the Vikings to win just to keep their playoff hopes alive, sort of like what I talked about with Atlanta last week. Like, they're going to do just enough to make their fans as miserable as possible.
Yep.
Up next, we have an NFC East showdown. The Dallas Cowboys are traveling to Washington to take on the Armada. The Cowboys are 4-point favorites. The over-under sits at 48. Dallas coming off a win over what I think we both consider a quarterback less New Orleans Saints. Washington playing really good football right now. I like Washington here, Jimmy. I think they're going to make a race out of this division.
Yeah, I agree. They're just disjointed. Some of their defensive schemes from earlier in the season aren't working quite as well. They've got the leader in the league in interceptions, but he's also given up a ton of yards trying to pick everything off. I see Terry McLaurin breaking a big one. I think Washington wins this game outright, so I love the money line at plus 160 as well.
Yeah, I like that bet too. Although, a lot of money line action on the Cowboys.
Yep.
The next game we have is a pretty big one for the Browns. The Kansas City Chiefs are hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. The Chiefs are 9-point favorites. They've won 5 in a row. The over-under here sits at 48. The Browns just really need Kansas City to win this game.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a problem. I think Vegas is a little better than the Broncos offensively, but I'm not sure if Vegas is better than the Broncos defensively. So I think the Chiefs will cover this line. I'm taking the Chiefs at -9. I think the Chiefs are getting right. I think we are headed to, I hate to say it, but I think we might be headed to Chiefs Patriots in the playoffs, man.
Yeah, that's really what the AFC title game is shaping up to be right now. Although there's so much fluctuation left to be seen
absolutely.
that maybe those two face in the second round. But I like Kansas City here too. They look like they're rounding into form. And since they've gotten their guys back on defense, Nick Wright's just been pounding the table about how they're the number one scoring defense since like week 5 or 6. And he's right. They got their guys back, and they're playing much better defensively than they were the first month of the season. Of course, that's not a high bar to clear, but they've been playing really well. And Patrick Mahomes still doesn't look right. I don't know what it is. Somebody online said he looks like a shortstop who can't find first base. And you've said repeatedly his mechanics get bad, so he doesn't really have something to fall back on. But I don't think that matters. I think they're going to take care of business against Las Vegas. I think they see their season coming into form, and they're going to grab it.
Yeah, I think fortunately for him, he's got a lot of pass catchers that are good enough that he doesn't have to be perfect. But I think the defense can handle what the Raiders can throw at them. I think their offense will play a little better than they did against Denver. At some point, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are going to stop dropping footballs.
And not Travis Kelce, but Tyreek Hill will stop dropping passes that immediately become interceptions.
Exactly. So I think their offense will get cooking, and I think they're going to be dangerous.
All right, another team that people are starting to talk about as dangerous, even though they're 4-8, is the Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson looks like he's finally healed from that finger surgery. He looked really good last week. They're traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. The Seahawks are 7.5-point favorites. The over-under sits at 41.5. Is there any reason to believe Houston puts up a fight in this game?
No, not really. Now it would not surprise me. They pulled Tyrod last week because he's really played kind of three of the worst, going back to the week before with the Jets, played three of the worst quarters of his career, which was just a lot of uncharacteristic things for him. So it wouldn't surprise me if the rookie Davis Mills does some exciting stuff because he's pretty athletic. But I think Seattle can win this by 2 scores, so I'll take the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Seahawks too. Our next game is the Jacksonville Jaguars are traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. The Titans are 8.5-point favorites. The over-under sits at 43.5. I have no idea why, Jimmy, but I kind of like Jacksonville to cover this.
Yeah, it's hard for me because I don't believe that the Titans right now are 9 points better than any team in the NFL. But, man, Jacksonville looked bad last week. But if it was Jacksonville at home, I'd probably feel differently. I'm going to go ahead and take this broken Tennessee team. I think they get one more win before the wheels fall off for their season.
Yeah, and the Colts are lurking. They're off this week, but they are definitely breathing down Tennessee's neck.
Yep.
Our next game is the New Orleans Saints are taking on the New York Jets. The Saints are 5-point favorites here. The over-under sits at 43. I will make every attempt to watch none of this game. I'll take New Orleans because I continue to say that the Jets stink and Zach Wilson stinks, and they keep making me right. So I'll just keep going with it.
Well, I think the Saints have more wins, or I think the Jets have more wins this past month than the Saints do. I don't know if the Jets are going to win this game, but I'm going to take them at home at +5. To me, they're fighting harder than the Saints are right now. So I'll take the Jets.
All right, it's our grudge match game, Jimmy. The 5-7 Atlanta Falcons against the 5-7 Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are 2.5-point favorites. The over/under is 42.5. I'm taking Atlanta because I thought they would be better than Carolina to start the season. I assume you're going to take Carolina for the same reason.
No, I am not taking Carolina because I've got to, I have never, we've been watching football pretty heavily for the past decade. Never seen a team fire their offensive coordinator who's considered an offensive guru in their bye week before. That was really weird. I don't know what this team's going to look like, so I'm going to take Atlanta as well. I like the money line, too. I think Atlanta probably wins this one outright.
Yeah, at plus 120. That's kind of nice, especially when the spread odds are even.
Yep.
Our next game is the no longer winless Detroit Lions are traveling to Mile High to take on the Denver Broncos, who are coming off they kind of got manhandled by Kansas City, but they seemed to fight throughout that game.
They did.
These just seem to be two teams that are really have not given in on the season. Denver's still playing for a playoff spot. Do you think Detroit sort of lets down their guard with the win already in the bag?
I do, but 8 points is a lot. I'm going to go ahead and take Denver. Teddy Bridgewater needs a bounce back game because he played really poor last week. So Teddy needs a bounce back game here. I do like Denver in this spot and mildly keeping their playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, I like Denver too. I think they'll find the road much easier to hoe against Detroit, and their defense is playing well, and I think they can do a lot to shut down Goff.
Yep, I agree.
Our next game is the New York Giants are traveling cross country to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are 10.5-point favorites. The over/under sits at 44.5. Chargers get a really nice win over the Bengals last week. Is there any hope for Browns fans the Giants can beat the Chargers?
No, there's not.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm taking the Chargers and not even thinking twice.
Yeah, I'll probably, when it gets closer to Sunday, I'll probably tease this one up to around 13.5 because I think the Chargers win this game by 2 touchdowns pretty easily.
Yeah, the Giants are just not a good football team.
Nope.
Our next game features two teams that have been pretty up and down. San Francisco has been coming on of late. They're 6-6. They're taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, who, as we said, just dropped a game to the Chargers, but had been playing well after their bye. The Bengals are 1-point favorites. The over/under sits at 48.5. We talked about this one yesterday. I think San Francisco wins this game outright, and I think you said you believe the same.
Yeah, I do. I think San Francisco I think they're just better than Cincinnati. I really believe that. Burrow let it be known that his hand was a little beat up, so expect San Francisco's pass rushers to go right for the football every chance they get. Look to beat up that hand some more. I think San Francisco wins this one pretty easily.
Yeah, he put in a pretty gutty performance there for a little bit. He seemed to be able to get past it. I don't know if he had some painkiller help there, but as that game wore on, you could see that he just couldn't grip and throw the ball like he normally does.
Yep.
Our next game is a big one this week. Buffalo taking on Tampa Bay in Florida. The Buccaneers are 3-point home favorites. The over/under sits at 52.5. Who would it be great if Tampa Bay could beat Buffalo?
I don't think there's much question to it. I think Tampa Bay wins this game pretty easily. I would probably take Tampa Bay at -6 here. I mean, I think Buffalo is reeling. I don't like Sean McDermott right now. He is in full denial mode. The defense actually played a pretty good game to a point.
They only gave up 1 touchdown.
They did only give up 1 touchdown, and I guess it's kind of hard to create turnovers when the other team's not throwing the football. So, but there has to be a little. There's got to start to be a little divide in that locker room. Man, Josh, you got paid. You're supposed to be a superstar. You are not playing like it. Now we got Tom Brady on the other side, and Tom Brady is hot. even without AB, I think this offense is going to cook. I think this is going to be a signature win for Tampa, and I think Buffalo may be in danger of missing the playoffs.
Yeah, if Buffalo loses this game, they drop to 7-6, and they're just in the peloton, as I said earlier this season, for the playoffs. Yep. And who knows how all that's going to shake out. I'm also taking Tampa Bay. Tom Brady looks like he's playing his best football of the season right now. He looks like he wants to make. We've seen Tom Brady, and we've seen other big quarterbacks do this before, but Tom Brady is going to go for the MVP. He's right there at the top, and this is an opportunity to make a statement win in a statement game at home. It'll be the game most people are watching. I just think Tampa Bay rolls here, and I don't know how Buffalo's really going to be able. They're not going to be able to run the ball against Tampa Bay. We know that because Tampa Bay, nobody runs on Tampa, and Buffalo doesn't really run the ball. So can they put up enough points with their one-dimensional offense against Tampa that is really geared towards defending the pass? I just don't see how Buffalo does it.
Nope, me neither.
All right, our next game is the Green Bay Packers are home on Sunday night. They are hosting the Chicago Bears. The over-under here is 12.5. The spread is 12.5. The over-under is 43.5. And if you can find the over-under for this game at 12.5, hammer the over. Just pro tip. The Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers own the Chicago Bears. I always take Green Bay with the points. It almost always wins, so I'm taking Green Bay with the points once again.
Yep, here, nothing else to say. If you got to bet Aaron Rodgers versus Andy Dalton, probably bet Aaron Rodgers.
Is this the week that Matt Nagy gets fired?
No, I don't think so.
He's just in there forever now. They were either going to fire him before the Thanksgiving game, or now they just can't.
He might even be able to weasel his way into one more season. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh my God, I don't know how they could bring him back, but that's a conversation for after the season. Our next game is the Monday night affair. It's a huge one in the NFC West. The Arizona Cardinals are minus 2.5 points against the Los Angeles Rams. The over-under sits at 51.5. Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins came back last week for Arizona. They looked just fine. The Rams got a nice comeback win. Jimmy, they've been your Super Bowl pick all year. You've been riding them. Are you going to continue to ride them in this game?
Yeah, give me the Rams at plus 2.5 and the money line at plus 115. This is where the season turns for both of these teams. Sean McVay's finally going to outcoach somebody in a game. He's going to make the right decisions. The Rams are going to get this big win here and change the outcome for their season, man.
I'm taking the Cardinals because they are the only team that I have been able to make money on over the last couple of weeks. They're just playing really well. Their defense is good. They won the earlier version of this game, correct?
Oh, they embarrassed.
Yeah, they embarrassed them. That's right. And that's really what worries me. If Matt Stafford has another game where he just throws one atrocious pick, like, what does that do to the Rams' mindset moving forward? I mean, they just...
How dare you put that out into the ether like that?
Well, how dare Matt Stafford put all those pick sixes out into the ether like that?
Oh, God, we're over that, though. We're over that. We're good. We're good. Here we go.
And this is really the season. The best... If the Rams lose this game, they're basically locked into the 5 spot in the playoffs, because Arizona is going to have a 3-game lead plus the tiebreaker, and that's basically how that division winds up. I don't think San Francisco's good enough to catch the Rams. I certainly don't think Seattle's catching the Rams. And everybody else in the NFC has 5 or 6 wins. So I think like this is it for LA. Do they want to have a shot at that bye, or are they going to be playing in the road the whole playoffs?
Yeah, and this actually, and then I think on the flip side as well, I mean, this is a huge, huge game for Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, right? Like, I mean, if Kyler goes out and just destroys this Rams defense again, he probably jumps to number 2 in the MVP odds if he's not there already. Like, I mean, this is a huge game for both of these teams. Like, this is what Monday Night Football is supposed to be, right? 2 premier teams in a game that matters. in December. I cannot wait for this football game because the Rams are going to win.
So it looks to me like we have a lot of games where we're going to finally be able to start crossing some teams off. And everybody seems to get excited for this part of the season when you can start crossing teams off. And just a word of caution, a lot of these teams that are on the brink seem to find ways to win games in week 14 and 15 to keep their hopes alive before dropping week 16, 17. Something to think about, and 18 this season, since there's still fucking forever left in the season because they added a game.
Yeah, I think that's a big reason. Like, I love the Panthers, but I just don't know what they're doing. But Atlanta has really been fighting hard these last couple of weeks. That's why I think you hit that on the nail. I think you'll see that out of Atlanta and Denver. I think you're going to see them fight really hard this week to get W's.
All right, I think that's a good place to wrap. We will be back Monday with our reaction to hopefully a Browns win and hopefully a little luck. If the Raiders lose and, my God, if fucking Giants, man, if you just get your shit together and upset the Chargers, that would be really nice. And we both think San Fran's going to beat Cincinnati. So if the Browns can take care of business Sunday, there's definitely a good path ahead. And as you've said, Jimmy, they control their own destiny. Let's see what they do with it.
Yep, absolutely, man.
All righty. Well, thank you for joining me today, Jimmy.
No place I'd rather be, brother.
All right, and thank you for listening. For Jimmy Champ, I'm Evan Belfiore, and we are No Broken Legs.
Every action has a repercussion. Lyrical bullets don't make me get the bussin'. Representing for